You're listening to Puma Podcast.
Hi, I'm Franco Luna Puma Podcast, and you're listening to Teka Teka News. In this episode,
It's hard to say, no? There's climate change. El Niño is now here, and it will continue until middle of next year. So anything can happen. Then, hindi natin alam kung magkakagera ulit sa ibang lugar. Hindi natin alam kung babara ulit ang isang barko sa Suez Canal. It is possible to lower the price, definitely. We have to have our silos, we have to have buffer stock, and we have to change some laws.
meet the new Agriculture Secretary, Francisco Tiu Laurel Jr. That was him at his first press conference, answering the question that's top of mind for every kanin-consuming Filipino. Pwede bang ibaba ang presyo ng bigas sa 20 pesos a kilo by year-end?
Pangunahing adhikain ko ang pagtiyak na sagana ang ating ani at siguraduhin ito ay nakakarating sa hapag ng bawat Pilipino. Layunin ko na tiyakin na may sapat at masustansyang pagkain na mabibili ang ating mga kababayan sa tamang halaga. Susi dito ang modernisasyon ng sektor ng agrikultura.
Again, that's Agriculture Secretary Kiko Tiu Laurel laying down his priorities. A bountiful harvest that will get to every Filipino's dining table. Sufficient, nutritious, and affordable food for Filipinos. And the key to achieving these? He says it's a modernized Philippine agriculture. After 16 months, President Bongbong Marcos finally got someone else to head the Department of Agriculture. He appointed Laurel on November 3. Let's get to know the school dropout turned fishing tycoon turned agriculture secretary. Like many Filipino farmers and fishermen or his constituents, Laurel doesn't have a college degree. He's admitted, quote, "I never finished my education because I became a father at 19. I needed to work to support my eldest child. My father impressed upon me that my responsibility as a father comes first. Like many, I dreamt of wearing a toga and receiving a diploma, but that wasn't meant to be. The sea became my university. Experiences in life taught me the value of perseverance." Close quote. Before joining public service, he was president of Frabel Fishing Corporation, a seafood production company established in 1966, while he was also president of the Agusan Power Company. It's also worth mentioning that according to the records of the Commission on Elections, during the 2022 elections, Laurel donated 30 million pesos to Marcos's campaign. He also donated 20 million pesos to Senate President Mig Zubiri and nearly 8.75 million pesos worth of airtime in GMA Network for Senator Robin Padilla. Under the law, a public official is required to resign from his position in a private enterprise within 30 days and divest himself of interests within 60 days from assuming public office. This is to avoid any conflict of interest. After his appointment, Laurel had already divested his interests from his companies, and he had this to say about claims of conflict of interest given his background.
Well, definitely there's no payback. As I said, sacrifice na rin to sa, it's just not for country talaga. Yun lang masasabi ko.
Again, like many Filipino farmers and fishermen, Laurel is in his late 50s. But unlike them, he had a lot of opportunities to better himself and provide for his family. Frabel Shipyard Corporation, a subsidiary of his company, won 6 different contracts from the Mines and Geosciences Bureau between January 2021 and March 2023, totaling 15.7 million, the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism found. He also has interests in energy through Markham Resources Corporation, which has hydroelectric energy projects in Luzon and Mindanao. After the elections, he was appointed as a member of the agriculture group of the Private Sector Advisory Council that was formed in July 2022. The group was expected to help the government address food security issues. Now, the president has set some very specific marching orders for the incoming agriculture chief.
The obvious one is trying grain control of the prices of all the agricultural commodities that are going up. At tinatamaan tayo ng climate change, alam nyo na lahat yung swine flu, alam nyo na lahat yung avian flu na tumatama sa atin. Hindi lang short term, kundi in the immediate term, kailangan natin makakontrol at tignan kung paano natin gagawin. At the same time, kasabay nito is the longer term, yung production at saka cost of production, mechanization, lahat ng mga bagay na yan.
But there are problems Secretary Kiko is inheriting too from the president. So far, he's planning on creating an intelligence group that will be tasked to fight corruption in the department. He also said that Marcos wants the agency to continue its anti-smuggling and anti-hoarding campaign, reiterating that they will go after agri-smugglers. More on that after this quick break, but first, here's Simeon Sison, a farmer from Bulacan speaking at a forum hosted by Tugon Kabuhayan in June.
Wala na kaming palay kayo. Kahit bumaha at tumindi at dumami ang importation. Ang epekto sa amin na matindi, kaming mga magsasaka, marami na sa amin ang bumibili ng bigas. Katulad ko po, bumibili na lang din po ako ng bigas. Nung umaani naman po ako, mura ang palay. So, yung pong kasunod na dahilan kung bakit nadarama natin itong scarcity, kakulangan, kamahalan ng bigas.
President Bongbong Marcos turned to Laurel to take the reins, acknowledging the critical role agriculture plays in our economic development. But as with any new leadership, there are challenges that need to be confronted.
Ganun. Kasi ang alam lang natin, meron tayong bigas. 'Di ba? Pero parang ang question kasi doon, bakit tayo umaasa sa imported? 'Di ba? Parang yun yung question na hindi mo din masagot, bakit tayo umaasa sa imported? Ano bang bakit ganun na ba kababa yung production natin?
That's Elaine Padiranga, a rice retailer at a palengke in Cubao. We spoke to her in September after the government implemented a price cap on rice. For their part, Fishers Group Pamalakaya says they have particularly pointed experiences with Frabel, Laurel's company. Listen to their national chairperson Fernando Hicap, who says big fishing vessels are constantly competing with small fishers.
Kung talagang magsilbi siya sa bayan, kasi priority mo, ang marching order daw sa kanya ni Pangulo, mapababa ang presyo ng pagkain, di ba? Tapos yung sufficient supply, yung food security. Kung yun ang marching order sa'yo, ihinto mo na. No? Immediately, yung mga dahilan kung bakit nasisira yung ating mga pangisdaan at ang ating mga agrikulturalan, kaya nagkukulang na tayo ng produksyon, no?
Fernando says the main challenges of the sector are still mining, dredging, and the lingering effects of rice liberalization. On top of that, Laurel will also have to reckon with insufficient infrastructure, climate change impacts, and our historical dependence on importation.
Halimbawa sa Manila Bay, dati yung mga mangingisda natin, dito lang sa Manila Bay nangingisda. Mayroong sa araw, mayroong sa gabi. No? Mayroong gamit pang isda na pang araw, mayroong gamit pang isda na pang gabi. Pag naglaot yan sa gabi, kinabukasan madaling araw, uuwi na yon. Kailangan niya nang ibenta yung kanyang huli. Pag araw ka naman ng isda, madaling araw ka aalis, mga alas 3 na madaling araw, mga alas 4, alas 3 ng hapon, uuwi ka na rin para ibenta mo yung nahuli mo. Pero ngayon, ay hindi mo na magagawa yon, no? Kasi wala ka nang mahuhuli sa Manila Bay.
In its latest World Trade Report, the U.S. Department of Agriculture forecasts Philippine rice imports for this coming year will reach 3.8 million metric tons, which means that even with our farmers, we're set to be the world's biggest rice importer. But rice isn't the only basic commodity with skyrocketing prices. A Pulse Asia survey conducted last June 2023 found that the rising cost of goods remains the top concern of 3 out of every 5, or 63% of Filipinos. That's no surprise given the year we've had, but an agriculture collective says these all affect farmers too.
Ang farmers kasi consumers din. Yung dama nating taas presyo sa lahat ng bagay, dama rin ng farmers. Mapababoy yan, mapamanok, mapabigas, mapamais. at the end of the day, consumers din sila. So, kahit maganda yung farm gate ng produce nila, bibili rin sila ng gamit sa bahay. Kung may motor sila, nagpapagas din sila, nagpapa-fuel.
That's Jason Cainglet, Executive Director of the Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG. They were actually one of the groups that pushed for the president to assume the secretaryship of the DA because of the challenges left behind in the department by the past few administrations.
Kasi nga kung secretary level lang, otherwise lagi siyang matatalo ng economic team kasi within the cabinet, nandiyan ang economic team na laging nananalo. No? In all previous governments, when we say economic team, yan yung Department of Finance, NEDA, DTI, sila lagi yung napapakinggan ng sitting presidents. And unfortunately, for the past 30 years, talagang dumapa ang agriculture because of our reliance sa economic managers, or especially nung pumasok tayo sa World Trade Organization and we joined the globalization bandwagon, nabansot yung agriculture. So, 30 years yung i-reverse mo yung policy, talaga mabigat yung task.
Now, Sinag says that historically, prices of agriculture products go up around the holiday season, even if there are no changes in the farm gate prices. But Jason says farmers were actually earning more for a time, and he hopes this agenda keeps up under the new agri-chief.
Maganda presyo ng palay sa farmers, they're getting, kumbaga, good return sa paghihirap nila. So, for a change, kumita ang farmers yan. In fact, last 2 cropping seasons, magandang presyo ng palay, napamura ang kanilang cost of producing. So, very positive sa farmers. Pangalawa, bago rin siya matapos yung position niya sa DA, tinaas niya yung support price ng palay. So, from 19, ginawa niyang 22. Ang nakikita lang kasi natin, usually, lalo na nasa Manila, you just see the price sa retail, sa palengke, presyo ng bigas, presyo ng baboy, presyo ng manok. Pero sa kanayunan, sa countryside where the producers are, we have no idea ano yung pinagdadaanan eh. And as far as etong dalawang decisions lang ng presidente, it really helped the farmers,
Rice liberalization in the Philippines has led our small farmers competing with imported rice from other countries with lower production costs. This causes lower prices for palay or unmilled rice, which has made it difficult for small farmers to make a living. There is also a lot that's outside of our control. For instance, countries like India, Thailand, and Vietnam, where we import a lot of our rice from, have all put in place restrictions on rice exports, which only drives the price up.
Well, yung una has something to do with how you manage the imports, no? Kasi nung mga panahon na sobra-sobra ang ating inaangkat, walang magawa ang gobyerno dahil under RTL.
RTL stands for Rice Tarification Law.
There is no more control over import volumes, no? And then ngayon naman na walang gustong umangkat, wala rin magawa ang gobyerno dahil pinagbawal ng batas yung NFA na umangkat, ano? But we need government during the instances na parang extreme situations, no? Either sobra o kulang, sumisipa ang presyo o bumabagsak ang presyo ng palay, kailangan makatugon yung gobyerno doon, no? Kung normal yung sitwasyon, pabayaan mo yung private sector, let the market work. But in extreme situations, the market will not work. May mga panukala na kami sa amendment sa RTL.
That's Raul Montemayor, National Manager of the Federation of Free Farmers Cooperatives Incorporated, calling for amendments to the Rice Tarification Law. Laurel's principal constituency, Filipino farmers and fisherfolk, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, are still among the poorest of the poor in the country. That the people who grow and catch our food are going hungry is beyond ironic. It is tragic. And as Jason puts it, farmers are expecting a bit of urgency from Laurel.
Yung dependency kasi nga, hindi natin na-develop yung local agriculture. Kaya ang tendency is to depend. Hindi naman siya overnight. Ang sinasabi naman natin, they can import all they want. Pero ang kailangan ng producers, yung tulong sa gobyerno na kaya tayo lugi sa imports because mataas yung ating cost of production. Mataas yung ating gastos in producing rice, mataas yung gastos natin in raising pigs, hogs or poultry raising.
The problems of Philippine agriculture have been long-standing. So aside from the urgent issues, What direction can Laurel lead the Department of Agriculture towards?
Ay nakagawa tayo ng mga panukalang pulisiya at nailagay na po ito sa aklat. Yung tawag ay Philippine Action Plan for Family Farmers. Kung masundan po nila yon, yun talaga yung malapit na malapit sa puso namin at hinango po yun sa hanay naming mga magsasaka.
That was Rene Cerilla, a farmer from Quezon Province who's advocacy leader of farmers group Pakisama. Aside from the full implementation of the Philippine Action Plan for Family Farmers, which was developed with farmers, Rene has a list of to-dos for this new agriculture secretary.
Sa issue po ng land conversion, huwag na nating hayaang ma-convert pa sa hindi pang agrikultura yung mga palayan ng ginagamit sa kasalukuyan. Iipasa na natin ng National Land Use Act. Sana itong National Irrigation Administration ay hindi lang yung sinasahod na tubig doon sa galing sa ilog ang tinututukan. Sa halip ay matutukan din yung pinanggagalingang watershed. Sana tapusin na itong agrarian reform para itong mga kabataan natin, dahil wala na silang mamanahing lupa, kung yung agrarian reform ay matatapos at itong ating mga potential young farmers ay mabigyan ng lupang masasaka, tingin ko po may pag-unlad pa itong ating agrikultura.
As Francisco Tiu Laurel Jr. takes charge, the challenges in Philippine agriculture remain formidable. Will his leadership bring about the change needed, or will the ghosts of past administrations linger? The new Agriculture Secretary says he sees farmers and fisherfolk more than constituents, but as brothers and sisters. He's seemed empathetic and consultative so far, and he's vowed to do his best to serve their interests. Here he is again.
Malapit sa puso ko ang mga kapatid nating magsasaka at mangingisda. Dahil personal kong natunghayan ang mga hirap at pangarap nila. Asahan po ninyong laging bukas ang aking tanggapan para sa inyong lahat. Handa akong makinig at makatrabaho kayo. Higit sa lahat, ako ay handa na magtrabaho para sa inyo.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka News. Again, I'm Franco Luna. This episode was edited by Freddy Blanco. Our Teka Teka News executive producer is Jill Caro, and our senior editor is Veronica Uy. If you found this episode useful, share it with a friend. Help Teka Teka News reach more people and keep the show going. Thanks for listening.